5 Indian Army personnel were killed today at the LoC in Poonch in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this is despite the ceasefire, the fresh ceasefire that the two countries announced, that's India and Pakistan announced earlier this year. So what is this fresh tension? What does it mean? And more importantly, what does it mean for India when the LAC anyway remains hot? To answer these questions, we have with us Snehesh Alex Philip, who tracks defense for ThePrint and who in fact at this point is in Srinagar. Snehesh, thank you for joining us. I know you're on the ground reporting, and I know it's a bit of an effort for you to have come on this show, but thank you for joining us in Government Matters.
Thank you, Rui.
So what really happened today, if you can just help us understand the sequence of events?
Well, what has happened is that the Indian Army has lost 5 soldiers, which includes 4 Jawans and 1 junior commissioned officers, that is a JCO. Now, there was an infiltration attempt that was seen by the forces, and then following this, a cordon and search operation was initiated. Now, during this cordon and search operations, what I've been able to gather so far is that there seems to have been an ambush kind of a situation in which we've lost 5 soldiers. The operation continues as we speak, but remember that this is part of a series of infiltration attempts that have taken place both on the Kashmir side as well as on the Jammu side. This is in the Poonch sector. In the recent past, just towards the end of September, multiple infiltration attempts were carried out in the Uri sector, which is in the Kashmir, on the Kashmir side of it. And these infiltration attempts have been thwarted. There have been one terrorist was even caught alive. There were a number of about at least 5 of them who were shot dead in the encounters. So this is part of a series of infiltration attempts that has been attempted by Pakistan ahead of the snow settling in. Back to you.
Right. But Snehesh, what does it mean? As I said, because there was a fresh ceasefire that was announced earlier this year, and it was expected that the LoC would be more peaceful after that. What do these repeated infiltration attempts and then what's happened today mean?
Well, interestingly, the ceasefire continues to remain in place. It was announced by after both the DGMOs of each side, both sides spoke to each other. Now, since February mid, the ceasefire has sustained, except for 2 incidents of ceasefire violations, which sources have attributed to, which was very localized in nature. There was a unit change that took place on the Pakistani side, and every time a unit comes in, a changeover happens, a new commander comes in, there is a flexing of muscles that is done. But it was very localized. Now, what Pakistan has done is that Pakistan has changed its strategy for the infiltration. Now, immediately after the ceasefire agreement, Pakistan had stopped any help being given to the infiltrators, the terror groups. The Pakistan actually told them not to infiltrate. They had stopped this thing. Only 2 months back is when Pakistan slowly, loosened up the tap. And the infiltration started about 2 months. Now we are told that it's a full-fledged infiltration attempt that is being done. And Pakistan is not just looking at infiltration of men, they are also looking at infiltration, smuggling in of arms and equipment. For example, in the operation towards the end of September, in which 3 terrorists were killed, the army, the security forces were able to recover 69 grenades, 5 AK-47s, and 9 pistols that were recovered from just 3 guys. So also at the same time, there's also an attempt that has been made to ensure that hardened terrorists, come in. Why I'm saying hardened terrorists is because over the last, a couple of years, there has been sustained operation by the security forces in Jammu and Kashmir, which were targeted at the leadership of the terror groups. Now, what has happened is that these terror groups have, there is no leadership as such of these terror groups. So in Pakistan's attempt right now is to ensure that push in their hardened terrorists who would act as leaders and handlers for the terrorist operating here. Back to you.
Right. Snehesh, you've also done a story for us for our website, ThePrint.in, which says that there is a change in strategy as far as Pakistan is concerned. You've already laid out a bit of it, but if you could elaborate a little more on that.
As I said, the Pakistan strategy, initially, Pakistan did not allow the infiltration to take place. They had stopped the infiltration. 2 months back is when they started allowing some sort of infiltration come in. There were sporadic cases of infiltration that took place. Now, the floodgates have really opened. This is the summer season. The snowfall will happen. The passes will close down soon. So this is the infiltration season, which is there. Now Pakistan has allowed, but however, this infiltration has not been accompanied by any ceasefire violations. At the same time, Pakistan is also ensuring that there is higher number of more than the men, it is the arms and ammunition which is pumped into Jammu and Kashmir. At the same time, they're also looking at having more trained and hardened terrorists infiltrating into the valley. It is feared that the level of violence in the valley would go up. It's already up. In the last 1 week itself, the Srinagar city has seen some daring attacks which is targeted at the minorities. The security forces are on the job. The army, the Jammu and Kashmir police, along with other security agencies, are working in tandem to ensure that this particular module that was behind this series of attack is brought to justice. Back to you.
Right. Snesh, now, as I said, this comes at a time when things at the LAC aren't particularly pleasant either. We know the outcome of the latest round of talks between India and China, and there was really no breakthrough, no headway that seems to have happened. How much of a concern is it for India that as the LAC remains a concern, the LoC seems to be on the boil again?
Well, see, as you know, when India and Pakistan went in for the ceasefire violations, it was primarily because of Pakistan. Pakistan is the one who initiated the ceasefire thing. Now, what has happened at the LoC over the last 2 years is very interesting. Now, India took a deliberate decision of targeting the Punjab battalions, the Punjabi battalions of Pakistan who were posted along the LoC. Whenever what I'm told is that when you target when a person from the Baluch regiment is killed or any other regiment is killed, it doesn't really hurt the Pakistanis. Still, it's Punjab, and in the Indian parlance, the Pakistani army is often known as the Punjabi army, is what they say. So Pakistan was hurt by the number of body bags that were coming back, and plus Pakistan, you had the Afghanistan front which was opening up. Pakistan wanted to focus on the Afghan side, the borders with Afghanistan. That is something that they were focused on. They didn't want, they were not in a situation that they could give equal importance or focus to both the borders with India as well as the LoC as well as the borders with Afghanistan. So they went in for a ceasefire to primarily to focus on what's happening on the Afghanistan side. India too at that time was engaged in a standoff, was engaged in a standoff with China, and then India also felt that why not give peace a chance, a ceasefire a chance. Back to you.
Okay, let's take these questions from our viewers. This one is from Samir. Doesn't it end the understanding between the Indian and Pakistan army, which had kept the ceasefire around LoC? So I think the perception of a ceasefire, Snehesh, at least for lay people like me, is that it would be peaceful at the LoC. But if incidents like these happen, it does make you question what the ceasefire means.
Exactly. So the ceasefire, as I said, remains so at this particular moment. One will really have to wait and watch how the Indian army responds to this particular act in which 5 soldiers were killed in action. And I've always maintained that the ceasefire is a very fragile ceasefire. While yes, it exists on paper, it exists on the ground. It is very fragile and it could break out anytime.
Right. Okay. This is a question from Angelsat. Why is this happening now? What are the Indian Army's plans to cater to this?
Well, why it is happening now? Because this is the infiltration season. A lot of infiltration will happen. It started happening about a month back. The pace of these infiltration attempts will increase. While remember that the LoC is not completely people can still infiltrate. There will infiltration happen as per inputs that has been received. Is that at least 4 to 5 groups have managed to infiltrate through the LoC. But at the same time, there is a complete anti-infiltration grid that is in place, keeping in mind that this is the infiltration season. And what the army would do, well, that's $1 million question. I would not like to speculate on what the army would do. Let the armed forces do what they have to do, and then I'll get you those news for sure.
Okay, this is from Amrit. We've seen rising violence in Kashmir. The PLA is sitting on Indian territory, and now this. Doesn't the CDS comment about fighting both fronts make sense?
Two-front war is something that the Indian forces are catering for, and this is something which is actually a real threat. And I think the entire our ORBAT, that is the order of battle, and any other changes that we've made to our way of operating, including the theaterization, including joiners, is primarily aimed at fighting a two-front war. And when we say two-front war, it doesn't mean that Pakistan and China would be, marching down the LAC and the LoC at the same time. There would always be a primary theater and a secondary theater. Right now, all this while our focus was on the western borders, now there is a rebalancing that has been done where the focus now shifts from the western to the northern borders. Back to you.
Right. Okay, Chinmay Sardesai. Chinmay is a member of the Print YouTube community. Why do we lose our men so often against ill-equipped terrorists?
Well, that's a difficult question, and I can tell you for the fact that things on the ground are completely different. In this particular area, this was an ambush that was laid. These are forested, thickly forested area. There are bushes all around, and you're in an operation. Anything can go wrong in an operation, and world over, the armies across the world lose their men. And these forces have been successful in carrying out so many other operations in which there were no casualties. Casualties are a sad reality of war. Back to you.
Okay, Tushar Deore, he's another valued member of the Print YouTube community. Given the recent civilian killings by terrorists, what is the government or what are the armed forces planning to do for the safety of minorities in Kashmir? So, in fact, who are in the valley to report from the ground on these issues?
Well, I can tell you for the fact that the individuals behind these particular attacks have been identified. There are multiple search operations that have been carried out. I'm so sorry, I'm actually out for a meeting. So this particular, so the multiple teams have been formed. There's a large number of detentions that have taken place of OGWs. OGWs are overground workers of terror groups. And it is hoped that the perpetrators of these dastardly acts will be brought to justice.
Right. Okay. This one is from James Henry. Is there any coordination between Pakistan and China to stretch the security forces of India?
Well, I'm not really sure whether there is coordination to stretch the security forces for sure, but yes, given this fact that the security forces do find themselves stretched, but then I said they're trained for it and they are deployed for it. So it's something that the armed forces are looking at, and they've been responding to the best of this. They've been responding best to the situation that has unfolded before us.
All right, I'll take one last question because I know you have to go. This is from Munish. Is it time to shift from defensive defense to offensive defense in order to reduce casualties on our side?
Well, it's always a combination of both that is there. For example, when India carried out the surgical strike, it was the offensive thing. When India carried out the Balakot strike, it was the offensive thing. I think we should leave it to the armed forces to decide what needs to be done. I think it's a government policy that needs to be done. But at the same time, I would say that in certain situations, offense is the best defense.
Okay, Snehesh, I know you're in a great hurry to go because never have we seen you, talk so little. So evidently you're in a hurry to go. But thank you so much for taking time out and joining us in Government Matters. A big thank you to our viewers as always for watching our show, for sending in their questions. Keep subscribing to our YouTube channel. In fact, do become a member of the Print YouTube community.
Thank you, Ruhi. Thank you.